number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
Welcome to Spotlight on the Arts. I'm Patrick Cristiano, your host, the publisher of TheaterLife.com, a website for theater buffs in New York City covering Broadway and off-Broadway. And today we're coming to you from the Wainscott Studio, where I have a special guest, actress, writer, Lois Robbins. Your name went out of my head for a second. I don't know what happened.
Okay.
I was thinking about all the stuff that you do, and somehow your name escaped me. But Lois Robbins is an actress, and she has a show that she's written, and it's going to be at the Signature starting August 21st, is it?
Yes, August 21st is our first preview, and we open officially September 8th and run through November 2nd.
Oh, so we have a nice long run,
Yes.
so everyone gets a long chance to check you
Yes.
out. Daryl Roth is producing your show.
Daryl Roth is
Aren't you
executive
lucky?
producer, and a group called Kaleidoscope Creative Partners are also producing, and Karen Carpenter is directing.
Whoa. Now, you were just, before we talk a little bit about how it started and how this came to be, let's talk a little bit about Karen Carpenter.
Okay.
Because to have a director of that renown must be, you just said a little while ago how cool it was.
Yes.
What's it like?
The funny thing is that I've always wanted to work with Karen, and you know how Kismet happens?
How did it come to be?
So when I was doing, Daryl Roth produced Cactus Flower, which I did. It was a revival at the West Side Theater. I think it was 5 years ago. And when I was doing with Maxwell Caulfield.
Well, we all had crushes on.
We all have crushes on Maxwell. And when I was doing that, the West Side Theater has two theaters. Downstairs, Karen Carpenter was directing Love, Loss, and What I Wore, the Nora Ephron play. And she and I connected. And then cut to now 5 years later, Daryl brought her in to direct this show. Daryl said to me, who do you think you'd like to direct it? And I gave her my wish list, and Karen was at the top of it. And she read the play and loved it, and the rest.
So she directed it in Los Angeles too?
No.
No.
And,
So I want to talk a little bit about the process, how it came to be, and how you. But it's different than it was in Los Angeles now.
Yes.
Did Daryl produce it in Los Angeles?
No. Well, let me tell you.
Okay.
I'm going to give you the entire journey
Okay.
because it's a great story. So, I started writing a book, and I got to about page 50 of this book, and I was stuck. And I was in LA.
What was it? Did it have a title?
I was calling it historical fiction.
Okay.
I wasn't sure what it was going to be called yet. And it was loosely based on my childhood.
Well, let me just interrupt you 1 second, because we
Yes.
didn't tell the audience. Your play is called Lover, and it's your remembrances of your sexual awakening.
Yes.
And all these, and you also, we spoke a little bit, you said it's 75% autobiographical.
It's 75% autobiographical, 25% borrowed information from friends who I got clearance from, and much of it is just made up out of my head. But understand, because it's historical fiction, these are memories from a long time ago, so they're as I recall them, but they may not be exactly how they happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the stuff made up out of your head may be from a past life you don't know, right?
Exactly, and I believe in that. I do.
We just had a long discussion on that.
Yeah, so you will appreciate how this happened.
Right.
So what happened was I got stuck on the book. I got back to New York. My youngest daughter had just had a reading with a psychic who speaks to your spirit guides, and she said, "Mom, you have to speak with this woman. She was amazing." So I make an appointment to speak with her. And she said, "What do you want to know?" I said, "Well, I've just finished this movie, and I really thought that things were going to start picking up. I was going to start booking all kinds of work. Nothing's happening. What do you see?" She said, "Well, let me ask your guides." And she said, "Well, I know you didn't ask me this, but let me just jump right in the middle here. Your guides are asking me about your writing. What's going on with your writing?" I said, "What? I didn't mention it." She said, "I know, but they're telling me you started writing a book. And they want me to tell you it isn't a book, it's a play, and it's about sex, and you know how to write that. And if you do, it's a game changer." And I mean, I could fast forward here quickly, but I literally, I bolted out of bed in the middle of the night. I started reflecting on the book.
I mean, you bolted out of bed
after
you had
the reading.
So how long? I mean, like
That
night.
night.
That night.
That night, I bolted up.
What happened in the moment, though, when she said this to
In
you?
the moment, I was like, what? What was she talking about?
Okay.
I like didn't register. And then in the middle of
That's
the
what I
night,
thought.
I got out of bed and I went, oh my
It
God.
registered.
And there had been this part in the book talking about childhood masturbation. Excuse me, audience. But so I thought, okay, that's the jumping off point.
Childhood masturbation?
Yes, and I started writing an outline, and the outline started pouring out of me. Within 2 weeks, I had the first half of what I thought this play was, and then I sent an email to Daryl Roth, and I said, Daryl, I'm working
That
on
one was only half done?
2 weeks into it, because I felt what was happening. And you know when you tap into something, you think, I have something here? So
you know what you know when you know it.
Yes.
And that was one of those I know it moments.
yes. So I emailed her, I said, I'm working on something, I'd love to come talk to you about it in about 2 weeks. She said, great, picked a date. 2 weeks later, I had a first draft. I went to her office, and she said, okay, tell me what you're working on. I told her. She said, well, read it to me.
Right on the spot?
Right there on the spot. I sat in her office. I read her the play.
How long did it read?
Probably at that point about an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And
How cool.
She said, Lois, I love this. She said, I think you really have something here. She gave me a bunch of notes, things she wanted me to work on, a title idea, which was Lover, because it was already in the play. And she said, I think that's the original
What do you mean it was
title.
already in the play?
I had already said this in the play,
Oh.
Lover. It's an acronym. It means one thing at the beginning of the play and something else at the end. You'll have to come see it to find out what. And, and she said, I think that's a better title than the original title was called Bearing It All. So then she told me to go out of town to do it somewhere where I wouldn't get reviews. And I had done a play at this charming little place called the Schoolhouse Theater in Croton Falls, New York, where I had worked twice before they had hired me. And I sent it to them. And literally less than a week later, they called me and said, we've read your play. We were supposed to do the Syringa Tree here this fall, but it fell through. We're looking for a one-person play. Would you be interested in coming up here to do it? I said, yes, of course. That's why I sent it to you. So I went up there, and they produced it up there. And
when was that?
That was, I guess, 2 springs ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we had several talkbacks. I got a lot of great insight from audience members, and I learned a lot about myself and the piece. I went back and did a big rewrite.
And what I find amazing, you say you learned a lot about yourself, because that's the key, isn't it? That's the real thing that keeps pushing you to the next level, to the next thing.
100%. And yeah, and it's interesting because I've never done a play where you break the fourth wall before. And this
that
was
is so much fun.
Yes, and so I had to learn how to take my time and how to make the audience the other character in the play. And that was a big learning curve for me. So then I redid the rewrite.
By the way, I understand exactly what you're talking about. We'll talk about that later, because I did that with Truman.
Oh, I want to hear about
Yes.
that. So then I had done a musical called The 60s Project up at Goodspeed Opera House a couple of years ago, and met a wonderful writer there. And he's from LA, and he was one of the head writers on MASH, and he was a writer on Cheers. His name is Ken Levine. So I reached out to Ken. I said, Ken, I'm working on something, and I'm thinking LA may be the next best spot to do it. I need a producer. Can you recommend somebody? So he said yes. He recommended a wonderful woman named Raquel Lehrman. I sent it to her.
Because Daryl wouldn't produce it in LA? Doesn't work like that?
Daryl's process is more about she wants it to be ready.
Okay, got it. I'm just curious, but not digress from your story.
So
you got this guy.
So I got Raquel Lehrman.
Oh.
I sent it to her, and she loved it. And she said, I love your play. Why don't you come out? Let's find a theater. So I went out to LA. We went to look at several theaters. We decided on the Zephyr Theater on Melrose. It was a perfect spot for it. And my very dear friend recommended a director named Sonia Sebastian to me, who also does film but has a 20-year, she has a theater company in South America, so English isn't her first language, but she's a brilliant director. And so I decided I was going to work with Sonia on this. The director that had done it at the schoolhouse was going off to run a theater. I don't remember where she went, Kate, but anyway, so she wasn't coming with me to LA. And I worked with Sonia, who really took me to the next level. You know, the thing about theater that people have to understand is that it could take 4 to 7 years to develop a play. And these things don't just, you know, blossom overnight. It's a big journey. So Sonia got me to this point, and and we got some great reviews in LA. And before he'd even gone to LA, I submitted the play to the United Solo Theater Festival in New York, and it had been accepted. So I knew after LA, I was coming back to do it at United Solo, and that's
where was that?
That's on 42nd Street. It was at the what do you call that space? In the Harold Clurman Center, in that theater. They have all those theaters in that complex.
I'm not familiar with it.
So it was a very small theater. United Solo uses, it's about a 50-seat theater. It was a wonderful experience, but it was too small a space for the play.
But you did it in LA and you came right back and did it. You did the same thing that you did in LA?
I did, but we had to modify it because of the size of the theater.
Because you've ultimately now changed it, right?
Now it has been, so here's what happened. So Daryl came to see it at United Solo, and then I had a meeting with her, and we decided that we were going to do this together, and she was going to help me bring it to the next level. But she felt that I needed a director with a little more gravitas for New York, and even though we love Sonia, and I'm actually going to be working with Sonia on a film, that's another story, but Karen read the play and loved it and said she was thrilled to do it and had always wanted to work with me, vice versa.
So we
and we have fallen in love. And over the last 6 months, I did another huge rewrite on the play. And I think the biggest difference with it now is...
Did you do a rewrite with suggestions from Karen and Daryl both?
Yes, but mostly Karen. I mean, that's why Daryl thought Karen would be a wonderful choice, because not only does she have incredible dramaturgical skills, but she's a brilliant director. So we have just finished our first week of rehearsal yesterday.
Congratulations.
I'm thoroughly
Where are you rehearsing?
Exhilarated and exhausted at primary stages.
Oh, cool.
And it's very exciting. And this week, this past week, we were working with sort of a makeshift set of things that were in the rehearsal room. This week, we will have not the actual set, but they're building us a rehearsal set. So because this set is a very interesting, I don't want to describe it too much because I don't want to give it away, but we needed it because there are levels involved. And in order for me to really know where I'm walking and where I'm going, I needed those levels to play on during rehearsal period. So I'm just so exhilarated. I can't even begin to tell you. And Karen is a dream. I told her I don't know that I'll be able to work with anyone else after her because she's an actor's dream. So that's where we are.
Now, have you ever done a one-person show before? This is your first one? I mean, not that you did it in LA and you did it at the other places, but you've never...
The first time I've done I've done many plays and musicals, but this is the first time I've done a one-person play, and it's going to be 8 shows a week.
And how long does it run? Running time?
I'm not 100% certain yet, but I think it's probably running 80 minutes, 80 to 85 minutes.
Oh, cool, wonderful.
Yeah.
So how do people get tickets if they want to come see you?
Okay, all the ticket information is right here, and I'm going to read it to you. So it's playing at the Pershing Square Signature Theater at the Alice Griffin Jewel Box. To get tickets, you can either visit ticketcentral.com or call 212-279-4200. That's 212-279-4200 or ticketcentral.com.
Thank you, Lois.
Thank you.
We'll have to get you a television show here.
Anytime.
But we have a little over 10 minutes. Let's show them some of the pictures from the previous production in LA, and we have a video. You'll set it up for me when we get to
great.
it.
Okay, you tell me.
All right.
Okay.
So let's have the pictures from her LA production. This is from. And did you call it the LOVER in LA too?
Yes.
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 So
this is a moment that's again been completely reimagined, but this is me describing a certain sexual experience with a gentleman who changed my life. And that is actually the same moment, I think. I believe that is an extended
right
moment. Before falling down the chair.
An extended moment.
Yes, yes. And that is the new poster for this production.
Finding yourself takes practice.
Yes.
It certainly does, and keeping the focus on yourself helps a little bit. A bold new comedy.
Well, yes, and I think the interesting thing about the show and where it's taken a very interesting arc is that while I do, discuss my sexual awakening and all of that, it's really about finding self-love. And the realization that in order to love anyone else, you have to love yourself first.
I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah, it's the same thing about caregiving. You have to take care of yourself first.
That's right.
Before you have any energy to take care of
Yes.
other people. They put these up all over Manhattan
Yes.
yesterday.
As of today, there are about 50 of them all over, which is very exciting for me. A friend of mine actually took that shot this morning as she was walking down West, I think she said it's West 59th Street, and she was walking down there and she said, Lois, you're
I think
on
that's very
again."
enticing, Lois. I
It's
think
very exciting.
That'll sell you tickets, I think.
I hope so.
Do we have more images, or do we have a little clip that we're going to show? A clip. We have a. Is this it?
That is that clip.
Is
If
this the image
it
or-
starts to move, that is the image at the beginning of the clip. I guess I'm setting it up for you. That is me doing a little cheerleading move, setting up what LOVER stands for.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
And you do it like a cheer.
I do it like a cheerleader. Yeah.
Were you a cheerleader?
I always wanted to be a cheerleader. I was a drama-rama.
Oh. You didn't even try out.
I didn't. There was no time.
So are we going to show this now? It's got.
E-R
Again.
L-O-V-E-R. Rehearsal room.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Oh, wow. So
where are we going from here, Pat?
I'm not sure. We have about 8 minutes left.
Do you want to tell me about Truman Capote?
No, I want no, I want to talk only about you.
Okay.
But because you've been acting ever since you were a little girl. You started at
Yes.
17.
I did start professionally at 17, but at 5 was when I knew I wanted to be an actress because I was cast as the month of April in a play about the months of the year, and it was April showers bring May flowers, and I had to cry on cue. But the best part of the story was that I wasn't originally cast in that role. I was in the chorus, and I was so upset not to play it. And the day of the show, the girl that had been playing that part was sick. And I went up to my teacher and I said, Miss Vicario, I know how to play the month of April. I can play Joni's part. And she said, really, Lois? I said, yes. She said, you got it. And she pinned the umbrella on me. And I cried on cue, and I was sold. That was it. There was no turning back for me. I knew that's what I was going to do with the rest of my life. And then, of course, very early on, I was a theater major at Ithaca College, and I decided that I was going to try and work while I was in school, and I got jobs on daytime television, and the rest is history.
You had 3 commercials running at the same time,
I had
think.
3 national network commercials. One of them was Calgon Take Me Away, which I was too young to even be in that commercial, but I don't know if people remember it, but it was the traffic, the boss, the baby, the dog, Calgon Take Me Away. And I was a kid, and yeah, it was really fun to do those. You know, I love those commercials.
And you worked in film and theater.
Work in film and theater. I have a couple of films coming out.
What do you have coming out?
So there's a film called, oh my God, it's just gone right out of
That's
my
all right,
head.
we'll come back in a
It's with
second.
Antonio Sabato Jr. and Casper Van Dien and Kevin Sorbo. One Nation Under God, sorry, apologies. One Nation Under God,
And you
which should be
play-
coming out. I play the wife of Antonio Sabato Jr.,
Oh, how
who is
cool.
a senator running for president. And then there's a film called Shepherd coming out that was directed and written by Lynn Roth, produced by Howard Roseman, who was one of the producers on Call Me By Your Name. and that should be coming out in a couple of months. That's based on a book called The Jewish Dog that takes place in 1939.
Who do you play in that?
I play a German woman who hates this dog. It's told through the eyes of a dog, but I hate the dog because it's a Jewish dog.
Are you a dog lover? You like dogs?
I have 3 dogs. Well, I had
So
3
how do you
dogs.
play
One
hating
died.
a dog?
Oh,
Is that hard?
Well, that's why you're an actor, you know. I mean, yeah, it was really hard for me.
That's what I'm thinking.
Also, really hard to be anti-Semitic because I'm Jewish, so that was tough. But
why do you think you got cast to do that? What do you think you brought to it?
You know, I met Lynn Roth, the director. Howard Rosenman brought me in for it, and after we met for over an hour lunch, she said, "I think you could play almost anything."
So she knew you weren't afraid to look unattractive.
Yeah.
Not unattractive,
And
but
no,
not be likable is what I meant.
And I really do look very
I don't mean look unattractive. I meant be not.
Both. In this role, I have
Well,
to say.
what comes going on the inside shows on the outside.
Yeah, and no, I wasn't afraid of it at all. As a matter of fact, I embraced it.
That's what she got. That's what she got. That's what made you really.
So I'm very excited for that film to come out. I think it's
When
beautiful.
will that be released?
I think it's coming out in a couple of months.
Do you know who's distributing it?
I don't know a whole lot, but
That's right.
yeah, but pretty excited about it. I have to find out.
It's a big part then.
It's a supporting role, but it's
a nice size.
It's a very nice role. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. How wonderful. So I get the feeling though, you've done so much work. What you're doing right now is probably the most fun you've had. And the reason I'm saying that, I was going to ask you who's your favorite director, and I said, it's going to be Karen Carpenter, of course.
Well,
right?
Yes, at the moment, Karen Carpenter is definitely my favorite.
Who else have you worked with that you liked?
I worked with Michael Bush on Cactus Flower. I really enjoyed that. Lynn Roth was an amazing director to work with on the film Shepherd. And Lisa Arnold, who directed One Nation Under God. I have to say, I've been very lucky in my life. I can't think of very many directors I have not enjoyed working with. I just love working.
Yeah, and you're very open and ready to.
I'm always sort of the first one on set, and I'm always the first one in the rehearsal room.
Well, you said you love rehearsing.
You know,
love
I
the
know
process.
you've got that 30-minute call before, a show, but I'm generally there an hour before. I like to make sure all my props are where they need to be, and I like to get on stage and sort of bless the stage before each performance, and I just love my work.
Lovely. You make it a whole spiritual experience.
I do.
You really
do. But to answer your question, I have to say, I think this is probably the most exciting time in my life, because to come to writing at this stage of my life and realize that I feel I really have something to share and say, I'd like to keep the writing going, too.
So why, this is interesting, too, because you didn't write anything before at all.
I did write 2 pilots.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, that I'm going to revisit after this and see if I can maybe get them sold. And I'd like to take a look back at those.
So you did write before. So the book wasn't the first foray into writing.
It was my first foray into writing a play. But I was tinkering with writing before this.
So you were tinkering by writing the pilots, is what you did?
Yes.
You didn't shoot them or anything, you just wrote them?
No, I wrote them. I tried with the second one to get it sold. I was very close. I actually pitched it to Lionsgate. Nothing happened with it, but I don't think that means it won't. We'll see what happens.
So you have a lot of irons in the fire, don't you?
Everything is timing, isn't it, Patrick, right?
Well, it's timing and accumulation.
Yes.
You have to take the actions, and then things accumulate in a kind of way if you keep going forward in a way, and if you keep the focus like we talked about.
And my mother always, I quote my mother a lot in the play, but my mother always said to me, darling, you go for everything and you take what you get. So I feel like I'm just throwing all the irons in the fire, and we'll see what comes back.
Well, I think it's going to be really good. Knowing that Daryl's involved with it, the energy that you bring to it, the excitement that you have. If you're having this much fun, it's going to be contagious to the audience too.
I really am. I hope so.
I can't wait to see this.
I hope you'll come opening night.
If we can arrange it, I would love to come opening night. What is opening night?
September 8th.
September 8th. Do you know what day it is?
It's a Sunday.
Okay, we'll figure it out.
Okay.
I'm not usually in town on Sundays in September, but we'll
Okay.
figure that out
Okay.
as we get closer to the date. We'll make an exception.
Great. Thank you.
And what will you do when this closes? You're correct?
When
You're going
this-
to take a vacation? You're
No,
do you have
when
another
this-
project you're going to jump
yes.
right into too?
When this closes, I'm hoping that I'll be shooting this film in Los Angeles.
Is it something
can't
you've
talk
signed?
about,
Yeah.
well, the
You can't talk about it.
negotiations are happening now. I can't talk about it. And I've been cast in a pilot that also will be shooting when this closes, which is also deal memo is.
Darling, you're
being-
going to be so busy.
Yeah.
Lucky
So,
you.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm very excited. It's hopefully this is the beginning of a whole new chapter of my life.
Well, didn't the psychic tell you that what your spirit guides told
The
you that this?
spirit guide said it was a game changer. After I wrote it, I booked 4 movies. I booked the recurring role on Younger. I got the play to open off Broadway, and who knows what's next.
Well, I think you better put us in touch with the spirit guide. We need some guidance
Everybody
ourselves.
wants her name. It's Julie Hunter. She's in Los Angeles.
Does she do phone consultations?
She does phone consultations, yes.
So we have about a minute left.
Okay.
Is there anything you want to leave us with? You have 2 children?
I have 4.
4
I have 4
children.
children. I have a stepson, and I have 3 that I birthed. And I just had my first grandchild. She is almost 5
Congratulations.
weeks old. Actually,
Congratulations.
she's 5 weeks old. And her name is Lola Ray, and she is the ray of sunshine in my life. I cannot believe it that I'm at this stage of my life. It feels like, you know, all good things are happening, and I just hope it stays that way. You know, we always have to say,
Yeah, because everything changes.
right? There, by the
will
grace
not
of
stay
God,
like
go on.
Lois, it's not going to stay. You're going to
No.
have ups and downs still,
No,
but it's
a
going to
line
keep.
from the play, those, it doesn't matter who you are in this world, those little gremlins get you one way or the other.
Yes. It's been a
So,
pleasure.
thank
you so
you.
much for making the trip to come out here from Watermill
My
to chat with
pleasure.
us, and I look forward to seeing your play. It
Thank you.
sounds really
Thanks for
cool.
having me.
Yeah, thank you.